What's up, dude? I'm sure we've all had the experience of being in a Mexican restaurant and hearing that sizzling fajita plate enter the dining room. I mean, it's funny, no matter how many times we've seen that, we all just stop what we're doing and just look at it like we're seeing a griffin for the first time. It is truly mesmerizing, and I wanna show you how to make those very same fajitas at home today, but also there's a little twist. If you are a cheese lover like I am, these are the fajitas that dreams are made of, my friends. Let's get straight into it. Now let's go! Now for starters, when it comes to choosing the right cut of beef for carne asada, I wouldn't come in with a preconceived plan. What do I mean by this? And I think it goes back to my saying that Gordon Ramsay will most likely steal at some point. Don't choose the steak, let the steak choose you. And what I mean by that is when you go to the butcher, you don't know exactly what steak is gonna look really marbled and really delicious that specific day. It just changes, that's just how it is. Having said that, in my view, there are really 4 main cuts that are great for carne asada, so you wanna find which one of these looks the best on that given day at the butcher. Makes sense, right? The cuts are skirt steak, flank steak, flap steak, and flat iron, okay? Really easy to remember because they all start with F except for the skirt steak. If you look at recipes online, you're almost always gonna see flank steak, but honestly, that's my least favorite cut of those 4. So when I went to the butcher to purchase steaks for this video, the flap steaks I found looked really, really lean. They just didn't look good. Thankfully, right next to them were these incredibly marbled flat iron steaks. They simply chose me that day because they were there, we locked eyes or whatever the steak has, and boom, that was it. The connection was made. Now I've got them here. They're gonna be the best. But maybe it's skirt, maybe it's flank, maybe it's flap that day. The point is, let the steak choose you. It's a really great advice, and not just for carne asada, for any steak, for any occasion. And the marinade for this video is basically a souped up version of the chipotle marinade I have shared in previous carne asada videos. I've essentially just built on top of that one to make this super marinade, right? So we have 3 different sections of ingredients. We've got our wet ingredients over here. That's your citrus, your chipotle, your oil, etc. Then we've got our aromatic ingredients with shallots, garlic, jalapeno, cilantro. And the 3rd section is all your dry ingredients. I'll explain what everything is as we build it in the molcajete. So I'm starting with my shallots here, garlic, some chopped jalapeno, and I'm gonna start by just roughly smashing up these ingredients. Of course, if you want to use a blender or a food processor or what have you, go for it. But I will say there's always a special quality to doing this with your hand. I don't know why, but it's just better. The good news is we do not need to smash this into a paste because we're just trying to unlock all the aromatic ingredients, and we do that by simply bruising them up, smashing them up a bit, just like so. After about a minute, I'll add my cilantro, stalks and leaves. Nothing wrong with those stalks. And again, with the smashy. Next, what I'm gonna do is simply just make a little well here in the middle. And we'll start by adding our coriander and cumin as part of our dry spices. Now, I'm just gonna try to keep that centered in the middle and do a little grindy. Then I'll add my salt, my chili powder, my paprika, my Mexican oregano, and a little bit of garlic and onion powder. Again, quick little mix here before mixing everything back together. Now for our wet ingredients, starting with chipotle, which in Texas you can't find anymore apparently. I had a can at home, but like I see people looking everywhere for this right now at HEB, at Central Market. I haven't seen it anywhere. So I don't know what's going on, but we're dealing with some sort of chipotle shortage. If you live in Texas, let me know if you can find this right now, because like people are struggling. Next, a bunch of citrus, lime juice, lemon juice, and orange juice. Yes, can't go wrong here, my friends. Little mixy, then I'm adding soy sauce, white vinegar, and finally a little bit of olive oil. You could use avocado oil, another one too. Doesn't have to be olive oil. Some people put beer in here too, like a light beer, like a lager. If you have some, you could do that, although I'm really happy with this. One more final mix. Little bit of Sergeant Gilbert reporting for duty, which as you all know is just black pepper. Honestly, if you were to do these ingredients a little finer first, this would probably be a banging salsa, huh? Look at it, looks awesome. One final mix and we are ready for the steaks. Just grab a container, put a little marinade down, throw in your steaks, do a little more marinade. You can just do it like this. It just helps you if you don't have to mix it so much. Do the rest of our steak here and the remainder of the marinade straight over. Just a quick little mix, make sure it's submerged. And that's all she wrote, my friends. And in terms of amounts, that was 3 pounds of flat irons, but honestly, you could definitely do 5 with this amount of marinade. I'm just gonna let this go overnight, about 12 hours or so. If you wanna make this recipe the same day, at least give it a few hours in here, you know what I mean? Otherwise it seems sort of like a waste of ingredients, but I'll see you tomorrow for the cook. And if you truly want to make the best fajitas, you are going to need the best cookware, which is why I use this carbon steel griddle from Made in Cookware. This thing is truly a beast. And I am truly proud to have Made in in Cookware as the sponsor of today's video because I've been using their cookware long before they ever sponsor this channel. Made in partners with multi-generational factories and artisans to bring you a product that will last for years and years. I mean, the build quality is truly outstanding. And don't just take my word for it, because Made in's cookware is used in over 2,000 top-rated restaurants, and their carbon steel griddle is one of my go-to Made in products. I just love the build quality of this. I love the thickness. I love the heat retention. I love that surface area. I want real estate, and with this griddle, I got it. And the versatility of being able to take this outside, set it over a grill, or even an open fire, or take it inside, put it over some burners, or even in your oven is just truly awesome. And whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it's got you covered. You want to throw some eggs on there, some hash browns, some bacon, some sausages, you can do it all in one go. Come lunchtime, you could easily churn out a whole bunch of grilled cheese or quesadillas at scale. And then come dinner time, you could cook pork chops, you could cook burgers, you could cook steaks, you could cook chicken breasts, you could cook whatever you want. And as the cherry on top, this griddle comes pre-seasoned right out of the box, which means it's naturally non-stick, and whatever you throw at it, it's just gonna give you an easy time. Check out the carbon steel griddle as well as all my other favorite cookware from Made in by clicking the link down in the description. Thank you, Made in, for sponsoring this video. Now let's go use this beast to cook up these fajitas. And while that meat marinates in the fridge, it is the perfect time to get the rest of our prep done for these fajitas. And I'm gonna start by cutting my peppers. I like doing it like this to follow the shape of the vegetable. I think it just gives you a nicer looking slice. And for another tip, you can actually put the point of your knife on your board and just sort of drag through the pepper like this, and it glides so easily through those skins, which can sometimes get stuck together and get that accordion thing going on. For the onions here, I chose yellow onions, and all I'm gonna do is slice them in the half before removing that core, peeling them, and then julienning them across like this. And that's your peppers and onions done. Just give them a mix and set them aside for later. Next, I'm gonna make pico de gallo, which is traditionally made with tomatoes. That is usually how I make it, but you can make it with whatever you want. I'm gonna make one with mango and another one with cucumber. And for our prep here, all you gotta do is slice up some cilantro. A nice sharp knife is always what works best when cutting fresh herbs. And of course, you gotta do some onion here. I like to just give it sort of a medium-sized dice, so something about this size looks just right to me. And for the mango, what I like to do is start by peeling down half of it so I can hold the other side nice and easy. And then I like to take my knife and just gently cut in to just follow the exact shape of that seed to preserve the most meat. And the seed itself will tell you exactly what you need to do with that knife, but you just do a little push out to the right and then a gentle push into the left. I'll then just peel the other side and do the same thing. You do have to be a little bit more careful on that side because it is slimier without that skin. Next, I'll just slice my half in half and then slice those into little strips before turning sideways and cutting into cubes. How big or how small you do them is really up to you. I just try to make everything the same size as that onion, so around a medium dice, maybe a little bit bigger. Next up, we're just gonna finely dice some jalapeno, and again, just like the pepper, I like to follow the curvature of that jalapeno. It's just a nice way to do it, I feel. And another pro tip when it comes to the jalapenos, but really this goes for any chili, always give it a taste. Sometimes you just get a total dud and you may need to add more. Now to finish your pico de gallo, just combine the onions with the mango, add a whole bunch of lime juice, your chopped chilies, cilantro, salt, and a little bit of freshly microplaned garlic. Then just give it all a really good mix before giving one final taste and adjusting the lime juice and salt as needed. I also add just a little splash of olive oil, but you really don't need to. I just like that sort of luscious coating it gives it. And if you've never had mango pico de gallo, definitely give it a try. This little sweet and sour pop from the mangoes is so good with meat. For the cucumber pico de gallo, I'm gonna sort of half peel an English cucumber like this. I just like that sort of dark green and light green look. I'll then just slice it in half and de-seed the middle with a spoon so it doesn't end up too watery. Then just make one cut straight through the middle like so, and before slicing across into sort of long strips, it doesn't need to be perfect. Then you can just take the tip of your knife and slice it at a bias into these little diamond shapes, ready for pico de gallo. And the only other ingredient that's gonna be different from the mango pico de gallo with this cucumber pico de gallo is I'm gonna use red onion instead of yellow onion. I just love that look along with the green cucumber. But besides that, it's identical. You're just gonna do your cilantro, your lime juice, your salt, your garlic, little touch of olive oil, give it a really good mix, taste for seasoning, and that's it. That's your cucumber pico de gallo done. This one is just really fresh and vibrant. It goes great with the taco. Oh, and not to forget a little bit of freshly diced jalapeno again as well, although you can leave that out if you don't want the spice. And on a side note, cooking in real life just wasn't enough for me, so now I'm running a virtual burger restaurant, which is actually a lot harder than it seems. I kind of suck at this game.
Looks like you're testing how long I can wait.
Looks like I might reject your order.
piece of shit. How'd you get a better mustache than me?
But it is absolutely hilarious. So if you like gaming and you like comedy and you like cooking, definitely subscribe to my gaming channel. I will put a link down in the description. And if you subscribe right now and you go over there and leave a comment saying the fajitas sent me, I will reply to you right away. Next up, just some really simple guacamole here. I just start by halving all my avocados before getting them into a molcajete and just sort of breaking them up a bit with a spoon before adding lime juice. Then I'll just hit it with a good amount of salt and a bunch of fresh microplaned garlic as well as my cilantro, and I'll just use a whisk here to get it to that texture that I like. I don't like it too creamy, I don't like it too chunky. And if you're Mexican, don't come after me in the comments. I know this isn't really traditional Mexican guacamole, but I already have all these other pico de gallos and salsas, so I wanted to keep this guacamole really pure. Once you get it to the texture you like, taste it again for lime juice and salt, and that's your guacamole ready to go. And to keep it from turning brown, I just put a little bit of avocado oil on top and sort of rolled it around like this so it's covering all the edges of the guacamole. Another thing you could do is put a piece of plastic wrap right on top so it's touching the surface of that guacamole. That way no air can get to it. In this case, I did both, and I can guarantee you that is gonna stay green for ages. And that's our fresh components done for these fajitas. Now it's time to make some really powerful, smoky, fire roasted tomato salsa. To start, I'm just gonna quarter and peel some yellow tomatoes and then remove those little eyes from my Roma tomatoes, which is just that little butthole on top. Then just get a pan ripping hot and have it dry, meaning no oil or anything in there. Drop in your tomatoes, drop in your onions, drop in some whole jalapeños and some whole garlic with the peels on. Then just let them char off in this pan for a couple minutes before placing them under a high heat broiler to char even more. And you really want to char these for roughly 8 to 10 minutes, but that totally depends on the strength of your broiler, so it might take a little bit longer, it could take a little bit of shorter. Just make sure you keep an eye on them, but it's really hard to get them too black, honestly, so you should be good. And once these look like they've been properly charizarded, just put them onto a little sheet pan. I just pop them in a big meat freezer that I have so I can cool these off quickly, which for me just took about 15 minutes. You want to get most of the heat out of them, but they can remain a little bit warm, which makes them blend easier. And then depending on the spice level you want, you can either choose to leave the seeds in the jalapeños or de-seed them. I chose to de-seed them. I just can't handle the spice too much anymore, unfortunately. And then all you gotta do is pop the garlic out of its shell, which comes out so easily after you've done this broiling process. And then into the blender they go with a whole bunch of lime juice and a good amount of salt. And whether you leave this chunky or smooth is really up to you. I wanted to go for a smoother look since I already have a bunch of chunky salsas. So I just blended for about 45 seconds before removing the lid, tasting again for lime juice and seasoning, adjusting as needed. And then all I did was add in my cilantro last minute so I could just blend that in without having it get totally worked in. I still wanted to see little speckles of cilantro in there. And that's your fire roasted tomato salsa done. You know, if you had your grill going, you could definitely pop all these ingredients out there and make it that way, which would net you even more smoke and delicious flavor, but it is totally up to you. Pop this in the fridge. It's only gonna pick up a lot of flavor as it sits. Now we're not done yet because I am making, yes, one more salsa today, my friends. Look, you do not have to make all 5 of these. I just wanted to hopefully give you some inspiration on what you could do on your taco or fajita night. And since we already have a red fire roasted salsa, I thought why not make a green fire roasted salsa using tomatillos. And all I did was start by husking and quartering my tomatillos. Then I got a few poblano peppers. I just love that mild spice from a poblano, again with some yellow onion, which I then just quartered and peeled before adding everything together again in a dry hot pan. And again, we're gonna add in a whole bunch of garlic with the peels on, as well as some whole jalapeños. And just the same deal as before with the fire roasted tomato salsa, we're gonna get these nice and charred in the pan before adding them again to the oven under the broiler. And after another 8 to 10 minutes of broiling, just like our previous salsa, these things are ready to go. Although I took them a little bit further with my sous vide gun. I may be a little bit of a pyromaniac. I just love this thing. I'll put a link for it in the description if anybody wants to get one. And just like before, I popped it on a little sheet pan and placed that in my freezer for about 12 to 15 minutes. I then just did my best to remove some of those burnt skins from the poblano and remove the seeds as well, although I like leaving a little bit of that burnt skin on to give that salsa sort of that dark, sort of speckled black look. I also followed the same exact process with the jalapeños. I just took a little knife here, peeled them down, removed most of those seeds because I didn't want it to be overly spicy, popped the garlic out of the shells just like before. You know the deal. Let's add this all to a blender and get it blended up. And as you do that, you may see you have a lot of leftover juices on that tray. Go ahead and get those in there as well. I just ran them through a little strainer like this to avoid the seeds. Then into a blender with the cilantro first this time and a whole bunch of lime juice and salt. I wanted this one to end up really green, which is why I put the cilantro first so it would blend more into the sauce on this one. I also added 1 small avocado so this would end up nice and thick before giving it a really good high-speed blend for about a minute. And that's your fire roasted tomatillo and poblano salsa done. It stayed nice and green
green, but while still having that really rich, smoky taste. I love the way it looked. Again, just pop that in the fridge with the rest of your salsas. It's only gonna pick up a lot of flavor while you make the rest of your dish.
And here we are, it's been 18 hours. Let's get these dried off and get them seared off. Because as we all know, the enemy of a good sear is moisture, which is why I'll be placing them between paper towels like so to really dry them up as much as possible. Because the more sear we can get on these, the more flavor we can get out of them, the better our fajitas are gonna be. Simple as that. And the soy has definitely done a lot of the seasoning for us, but I'm gonna still put a little bit of salt on these steaks before searing. Now I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my carbon steel griddle for about 5 minutes. This is a thick piece of metal. We really wanna get that heat in there before we start cooking. And obviously I'm using these little camping stoves. That's just for YouTube. You wanna set this over 2 burners on your stove. That's the ideal way to do it. And I'm just using a little bit of avocado oil. And after about 30 seconds with the oil, I'll go ahead and drop my flat irons down. I just cooked these for about 4 or 5 minutes on each side before flipping them over and doing the same thing. At which point I gave them an 8 to 10 minute rest. And that's because from my experience working in restaurants for 20 years, flat irons need extra resting or they will lose a lot of juice when you cut into them. This point too, I'm gonna go ahead and slice them up. I want these to be a little bit pink right now. I'm slicing them about yay thick because I don't want them to be too thin either, but something just about this looks good because they are gonna get cooked again. So we do not want them cooked all the way through right now. I'll also pour over all these resting juices. They look so good. Such a shame to waste that. And after giving my carbon steel griddle a little clean, we're gonna go ahead and start cooking our onions and peppers. Want to hear a nice sizzle here. Again, I preheated this really well. Give it a little season with some salt and pepper. And just using these 2 spatulas, I'll give them a bit of a toss. And I actually don't want these onions and peppers to be too cooked. I don't want mush. I think that it's more like stir fry, right? So there's a little bite to the vegetables. So about like this, I think it's good. And after just about 3 minutes, I'm gonna add all my steak back in. Holy moly. And I'll give this just a little toss with the onions and peppers. Just 30 seconds of cooking with the beef and we're ready for the cheese.
Which is without a doubt one of the most epic parts of this fajita recipe. You can use any melting cheese you like, whether it be Oaxaca, Chihuahua, or even Monterey Jack, which is what I'm using today. It works just great and it melts amazing. Simply just place it on either side of your beef and onions and place that under the broiler just until it melts. It should only take about 30 seconds. It happens really quick and you're ready to serve.
Woo. All right, Marcus, hot tortilla, whoa! So the idea here is you take some molten cheese, lay it down on your tortilla there, a little bit of beef, however much you like, peppers, some onions. And it's because that carbon steel griddle is so thick, it's gonna keep all this hot for a good amount of time. And just go in with your salsas as you wish. Roasted tomatillo, green, pico de gallo. Yeah, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, that's what you call a showstopper. Imagine you go to someone's house and they bring out this tray of molten cheese and steak and fajitas like that. That's a showstopper.
The thing that I think sets Mexican food apart, because it's so easy for it to be heavy, is the balance with all the salsas and citruses. Because you can't eat a brick of cheese without a bunch of these. That rhymed.
Back to the fat and acid thing. This is all fat here, right? The steak, and that's all acid, the salsas. And when you have them together, you have a really good bite of food. Make it. Thanks for watching today, my friend. And if you happen to be a fan of written recipes, definitely check out my Master in the Making ebook that will be linked below this video in the description. I poured my heart and soul into that book. You are the master in the making. I want to help you get there. That book will help you do it. And if you want to keep learning today and you like this fajita recipe, here are 2 more recipes I know you're gonna love. Until next time, you know I love you and I'm out.